Am I still in my pajamas? Yes, I worked the last 6 days at both of my jobs, so that's what's happening. Also, I'm gonna try to make this fairly quick because my roommate is hiding in the bathroom so I can film, living that shared bachelor suite life. Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for January 26th through February 1st. This week I read 3 books, I watched 3 shows, and I listened to 1 book. First, I finished Heart and Soul, which is a book that comes out this week by a Canadian author that I absolutely adored. It's the first in a series, and I cannot wait to read the rest of them. Heart and Soul is about Tessa, who is a writer, and one of the books she's written is actually being created into a drama in Korea, so she goes to Korea to kind of be on the set and meet the actors and that type of thing. And when she gets there, she realizes that the male lead of the thing that she created is actually her bias from her favorite K-pop group. A situation happens, and long story short, they end up having to get fake married. That was basically all the setup I knew going in before I opened the book, and I was already here for it. It sounded like it was going to be an adorable, cute little romance, and it was that, but so much more. When I opened the first page, it had the types of representation that you're going to find throughout the book, as well as potential content and trigger warnings, which is not something I've seen in a book before, so that was amazing. I was also very excited because we realized in the first little while, not only is Tessa demi, which is me, she's also bi, which is also me, so I was very excited about that. I think everyone knows I love seeing representation right on the page. What really sold this book for me though is the characters. They are just such wonderful human beings, and if they existed in real life, I would want them to be my friends. Yoonji actually lives with 3 of his bandmates. The other 3 bandmates are off doing their compulsory service because that is a thing in South Korea, and a thing that I learned in this book. In any case, his bandmates are so supportive, such wonderful human beings, and I just loved how all of this came together. I also really love that Tessa's best friend lives in Seoul as well, so she had a support system even though her parents were back in Canada. The son is being dramatic all of a sudden. And she comes from this beautiful multicultural background because her mother is Brazilian and her father is half Korean. If you are a contemporary romance lover, definitely check this one out. Pre-order it now. It's out so soon, and I just absolutely adored it. And now I just feel so absolutely grateful that the author reached out to me and offered to send me a copy in the first place because I thoroughly love these characters so much. The next book I finished is the most recent book from the Life's Library book club, and that's Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. This book takes place in 2024 in California, and if things keep going how they're going in the States, I think that this might be cutting a little bit too close to home and is a possibility, which is frightening because this was written in the 90s. Lauren lives in a small lower class community with her family and about 12 other houses. It's a gated community because there is a huge crime problem. Everything costs more than it should. Most people don't have jobs because there aren't jobs available for cash, so they do jobs like trading vegetables and that type of thing. And if you want to buy food you didn't make yourself, it's hundreds upon thousands of dollars to do so. Also, having access to water is a big thing. Lauren's father is a minister, but she's found that his faith doesn't exactly work for her, so she spends a lot of this book figuring out what her faith is and what God is to her. And initially I started reading that and wondering if this was going to be a book for me because I don't really care for religion. I am not a religious person. However, it is very interesting to go in and see the different things that people think about when forming their own religion. I'm also very excited that I finally got to read some more Octavia Butler because I think I've only read one of her books before and it was in the graphic novel format, so only sort of read one of her books before. So this was a very exciting read to kind of push me into Black History Month. The next book I finished was a very short manga called I Married My Best Friend Who Shut My Parents Up. This is about a woman who is very focused on her job and doesn't have time to date, and her parents are constantly trying to get her a boyfriend, so she ends up legally marrying her best friend, who is a woman, just to get her parents to leave her alone. Her best friend is a lesbian and did have a crush on her at school, and because this is very short and obviously there's not a lot of page space for complexity, they do end up falling in love and getting together. This volume also has a couple of other female-female romance stories that are much shorter at the end of it, so it is 3 stories all in one, and all of it's pretty adorable. Onto the shows I watched this week, we did manage to get in 1 episode of The Expanse last Sunday. This again is a space show where I have read the first book, so I know a little bit of what's going on, but eventually we will get to parts that were later in the series and I won't know what's going on anymore. Also, I read the book a couple of years ago, so it's only when things start happening that I'm like, oh, this seems very familiar. So I'm still enjoying it and still looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next. Then I finally got together with my friend Rena, who I haven't seen for a while because she moved and our schedules never seem to mesh up, and we watched 3 more episodes of The West Wing. We are somewhere in the 2nd season. When she bought all of the seasons, they just came and they're just numbered episodes 1 through whatever the end number is, but we're somewhere in the 2nd season. We watched episodes 28, 29, and 30 if you want to look up which ones we specifically watched this time. We've actually been watching this show together for like a year almost, but we do it so infrequently that we only get a couple of episodes in every few months or so. That being said, this is a rewatch for me. I absolutely adore this show and I'm having a lot of fun going back and seeing these characters again. And then Rena hasn't seen the show, so it's fun to hear her just being like, oh, is this thing going to happen? And sometimes I'm like, I honestly don't remember because I haven't watched this in years. And then sometimes I just have to not look at her and not tell her whether or not something's going to happen because I don't want to spoil it. And my friend Steph and I also watched episodes 4, 5, and 6 of Looking for Alaska, which means we only have 2 episodes left. It is only an 8-episode run. I thought it was a 10-episode run, so this week we are going to finish it, and we finally got to the point where we're going to transition from before to after. If you've read the book or seen the series, you know what that means. Again, I haven't read the book since about 2013, although I will be re-listening to it this month for Valentine's because there's a reread square, and because the audiobook is narrated by Will Wheaton, so why wouldn't I? So the details aren't fresh in my mind, but I am really enjoying this adaptation. Obviously things have changed, such as I feel like the midpoint, if you will, between before and after was much more central in the book. It is much later in the series, but that also makes a lot of sense for the medium that it's in. We also did get the scene that made it a banned book in a lot of libraries in the United States, so I was wondering if that was going to happen, and it did, and I was happy about it. I also used to have John Green saying thoroughly unerotic oral sex as my text tone for a while because he said it in a video about banned books and about this book in particular, and I thought that was funny, so that was my text tone for a while. And finally, onto the book I listened to this week. That was Rules for Vanishing. This is a horror book, and I didn't really know much about it going in. I just knew it was something that people were very much enjoying. It was very atmospheric. It was definitely that. I was more meh on it, and I wonder if it's because I listened to the audiobook and I've been spoiled for some very good productions of audiobooks and would have preferred to see this audiobook be more full cast than it was. So the setup for this book is there's this local legend where this girl went missing about 50 years ago by walking into the woods, and now there's this local game of like kids walking into the woods and scaring each other. However, a year previously our main character Sarah's sister disappeared, and now there's this text that went around to everyone saying, hey, if you want to basically go on this adventure, meet in the woods 2 midnights from now, and we're doing it. So she shows up, and some people that used to be her friends, although she hasn't really been friendly with them in the past year since her sister disappeared, show up, and then adventure ensues. With that setup, I thought this was going to be straight up contemporary. It's not straight up contemporary, it's definitely horror. There are elements to it where you don't know what's going on, and it's very cinematic because you could picture this as a horror movie. All of that I very much enjoyed, but there were too many characters for me to really get attached to anyone. I got a little bit of attachment here and there, but there were just so many and I didn't know who was going to be around, so I didn't know if I should be caring about everyone. In addition, this was done in a found document type of format, so some of it was interviews between her and this doctor, and you don't know why she's being interviewed by this doctor initially, and then a lot of it is videos that they took while they were on this trail, and that's the part that I really wish it was more of a full cast. There is more than one narrator, but I just thought that the voice acting in that could have been stronger. Something like, say, the Themis files or the Illuminae files, that kind of format would have worked better for me and would have made me maybe connect with the individual characters a little bit better. So maybe it's my fault that I listened to this instead of reading it, and I would have connected more with the characters if I read it on the page. Who knows? I know that people really, really love this, so maybe this is a me thing. I thought it was a 3-star read. It was fine. I enjoyed my time, but I was not super excited about it like I've seen many people be. And dramatic sunshine again. Why? That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below on the way down to the comments. If you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!